So hello, welcome, and good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I really want to thank Chuck Ireland for helping coordinate this so we could present some information about the American Red Cross to this fabulous group. My name is Lynn Cohen, and I am a volunteer recruitment specialist with the American Red Cross. I work with the Delaware Valley chapter, which serves Chester, Montgomery, and Delaware counties in Pennsylvania. I have been with the American Red Cross for 3 years. I absolutely love working with volunteers who love to get up and give back every day and be a part of our humanitarian mission. Today, I'm going to introduce you to our amazing mission, share an overview of our services, introduce you to a few of our extraordinarily wonderful volunteers and a few of the wonderful volunteer opportunities that the American Red Cross can offer you, the recreational vehicle enthusiasts. So my colleagues this evening are some extraordinary volunteers with the American Red Cross, Marianne Santangelo and Brian Hauser. They are going to chat with you later in the presentation and share their personal volunteer experience with the American Red Cross. Brian is part of the Disaster Operations Volunteer Escapee Group, which works or is specifically geared toward recreational vehicle owners. And Marianne is a blood services onboarding and training member. She's also a blood donor ambassador and participates in our community outreach team. So I just wanted to show you our map. We do serve the 5-county area for our region, and within our region, we do have 2 chapters. So the Delaware Valley chapter is the 3 counties I mentioned. The Philadelphia chapter is the Bucks and Philadelphia counties. So everything we do begins with our mission. We are thoughtful and mindful of our mission, which is to alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of our donors. Our fundamental principles are the requirements that are the same for any Red Cross or any Red Crescent Society around the world. And those are humanity, impartiality, neutrality, independence, voluntary service, unity, and universality. And when I talk about voluntary service, the cool thing about the American Red Cross is 90% of our workforce is volunteers. And everything we do is really, the values are the foundation of our work. We are, in everything we do, compassionate, credible, collaborative, committed, and creative. We live and breathe really our values in everything that we do. And that's why this is such a great organization to volunteer and work for. So I wanted to chat a little bit about our services. So a lot of people know us mainly for bloods and floods, but we do so much more. There are 5 areas that the American Red Cross works in today. Clara Barton started it out on the battlefield in 1881, and it has certainly transitioned and progressed through these 140 years. So the first line of service I just want to briefly mention that a lot of people don't know about is services to the armed forces. So we provide support and service to current military members, veterans, and their families. And we do that through a variety of programs, resiliency training, casework. We just started a compassionate care program, and I can talk more about those if you're interested later. We also have our biomedical services, which is our blood drives, our blood collection, blood transportation. That's getting the blood to and fro places where it needs to go, to different hospitals from our processing centers. As I shared, Marianne's going to talk about that. She's going to talk about her journey as a blood donor ambassador in a few moments. Disaster cycle services, my goodness. Don't we know that Mother Nature has been wreaking havoc for the past couple of seasons? And we understand that, her wrath is going to probably continue. We'll probably have another unprecedented season of natural disasters next summer. So we were directly impacted this year by Hurricane Ida in our region. We had to open 4 shelters locally, and I believe we opened over 700 cases for recovery client care to help people who were affected by the flooding that happened with that storm. So the cool thing about disaster cycle services is, volunteers can be a part of a disaster action team and respond locally to home fires, single family home fires, or multifamily home fires. Or they can be trained and become part of the disaster response team, which Brian is going to speak more to, and that's where you can get trained and you would deploy to other regions in need. So if there's a hurricane, a tornado, wildfire, this is really where that DOVES group can come in and really support those who've been affected by natural disasters. So those are the 3 lines of service that I'm going to kind of focus on this evening. We also offer training services, which is our CPR, first aid, AED, lifeguard, babysitting certification, and many others. And as a volunteer with the Red Cross, you can get your CPR certification for free, which is typically a $110 value. And then we also are involved with international services. So that's where our Red Crescent societies come into play. Other nations around the world are part of the Red Crescent Society and adhere to those fundamental values we talked to earlier. A big part of international services is providing the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines around the world. And it's also, recently locally here, we helped with the Afghanistan refugees that were coming in through the airport. So the Red Cross was there to provide them with information and comfort kits. But then there's also international humanitarian law and other ways that we're involved with international services. So our work impacts lives every day. So no matter what you decide to do as a volunteer with the Red Cross, you're probably going to have an impact. I think the statistic here that really stands out to me is that every 60 seconds, 63 people are assisted by the American Red Cross. And I could go through and read the other statistics, but I'm not going to. But you can see that, the work that our volunteers do have a huge impact on the lives of so many people every second of every day. And again, it just goes back to our values and our mission. So one of our top priorities at the American Red Cross is to support the health, safety, and wellness of our workforce while balancing the need to deliver our life-saving mission. And if you're interested in volunteering with us in one of our in-person opportunities, we ask that you review the CDC guidance, follow local guidance, and if you have any questions, consult your local healthcare providers. But it's really our job to protect the volunteers that are coming to volunteer for us and to, protect those that we are helping to serve. So we have a new vaccine requirement that's taking effect January 3rd. So our volunteers who work and volunteer in person must be vaccinated. So biomedical services. So the Red Cross is one of the nation's largest blood collection organizations. Blood donors play a huge role in today's healthcare system. Many life-saving medical treatments and procedures involve blood transfusions, things that would not be possible without a safe and reliable blood supply from our donors. We supply about 40% of the nation's blood supply. And right now we are at a critical low. Our collection rates are lower than they have been in the past 10 years. So if you can't volunteer, we're asking that you roll up your sleeve to donate blood, or that you ask someone you know to roll up their sleeve to donate blood. If people go to redcrossblood.org, you can find any blood drives that are in your area by typing in a zip code, and you can find a blood drive near you. So that's very critical. And then one of the opportunities that Mary Ann volunteers in is our blood donor ambassador. And she's going to speak to that, but that's one of our highest priority positions. So those are folks who work the blood drives, who are there to greet and manage the donor's experience. But that's our highest priority need, because when we are doing good with our blood drives, I mean, in our region alone, we can have 20 to 40 blood drives in one single day. So that requires a lot of volunteers to help manage that. Then we also need blood transportation specialists. And as I mentioned earlier, those are the folks who actually just drive. They drive and pick up the blood from either the processing center and take it to the hospital, or pick it up from a fixed site location and take it to the processing center in Spring Garden in Philadelphia. And then there's some other volunteer opportunities, but those top two are the most important regarding our blood services. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary Ann right now and let her share with you her experience of being a blood donor ambassador. So Mary Ann. Can you unmute yourself, Mary Ann?
Thank you.
There you go.
I would have gone on and no one would have heard me but me.
That's okay.
I talk to myself.
Turn on your camera?
You want me to turn on the camera too?
Oh, well, if you don't mind, you don't have to. Whatever you're comfortable
It
with.
is on. I can see me.
Oh, okay. Fabulous.
Anyway, hi everyone. So I retired not very long ago, and right after that COVID hit. But primarily why I started to search how I could get involved volunteering is because upon retirement, I was instantly bored and needed to get involved in something since I was no longer running into a job every day. And after doing some research, I decided on the Red Cross. I think it was always there in the back of my mind, but as I read more about what they are all about, I really just so love the mission: prevent and alleviate human suffering. I mean, if you just think about those 5 words, what a mission, what a lofty goal to prevent human suffering and to alleviate it. So I wanted to be part of a team that helps the Red Cross to deliver that mission. And the fact that 500,000 volunteers across the country actually helped the Red Cross to do this was astounding to me and very motivating. That volunteers are so important for the Red Cross to do what it does. It's almost like we're the ones in charge. We're making it happen. And I wanted to be a part of that. So I started with blood services, or what we call biomedical services, basically working at blood drives, which I really look forward to doing, because as everyone else experienced when COVID hit, we were kind of homebound. We were afraid to go out of the house. We couldn't gather with friends and family. And the blood drives gave me an opportunity to interact with other human beings in a very safe way. It was totally safe and still is. So I began there as a blood donor ambassador, as Lynn said. And the blood donor ambassador job is really important for so many reasons, but we work hand in hand with the collections team, who was actually, taking the blood. But we're the first person a blood donor interacts with when they come in to give blood. And in addition to greeting them and thanking them for coming in to make a donation, we need to qualify them, make sure they're eligible to give blood that day, check their identification. We put them in a computer system. We answer any questions they may have. We make sure there's always the refreshments out on the tables for them to hydrate and have something to eat before they leave. We thank them often. And basically, we are what my engagement representative at the Red Cross likes to call the touchy-feely part of blood donation. We kind of set the tone for that experience, and it's very important because we want blood donors, especially during COVID. A lot of them are giving blood and looking forward to that interaction as well because they're homebound during all of this time as well. We want that experience to be really enjoyable and fulfilling. And the blood donor ambassador job really does set that tone. And we need blood donors to come back every 2 months if they're giving whole blood, or every 4 months if they're giving double red blood, as often as they can make that schedule and for as long as they're able to, because blood is so needed and it cannot be created in a test tube. We need it to come from other human beings. So that's my sales pitch for donating blood if you're able to, but also for the blood donor ambassador volunteer work. It's a 5-hour shift. It eats up a day, but you can choose blood drives in your neighborhood. You don't have to go very far. You can pick and choose when you want to work, if the times are right for you, if the location is convenient. It's a really flexible, wonderful way to get involved without kind of strapping yourself in with it, and so you can really work around your own schedule. And then as Lynn mentioned, there's also the transportation services that you can do in blood services. I also then got involved in disaster services. There's lots to disaster services. I believe someone else will probably delve into disaster a little more than I will, but clearly there are the national disasters that Lynn talked about. And if you're able and can leave the region for a two-week period, you can be deployed to the location of the natural disaster and work with a team who does so much over those 2 weeks, long, exhausting, but exhilarating days of helping people who are affected by natural disasters. But disasters happen in our own backyard. So if you're not up for getting up and jumping on an airplane and flying out to the West Coast, there's a lot that you can do in disaster services right in your own area. And I got involved in being a blood donor, recovery caseworker, where after, and usually they're house fires, after the event, we get in touch with the household and work with them to help them develop a plan for recovery. We're kind of that helping hand, listening, offering compassion, connecting them with the right community resources that could help them get back on their feet. So that's a really fulfilling job that you can do from the comfort of your home. All you need is a computer and a phone to be a recovery caseworker. So that's a terrific job where there's flexibility as well. And what I'm doing now is I'm doing all of those things, but I'm also doing community outreach with Lynn, where we try to bring this Red Cross story to as many people as we can, so they know that all of the ways that the Red Cross can help in an emergency, and all of the ways you can get involved if you are looking for something to fill the time that you have to offer to help the Red Cross with that wonderful mission. And it's fun and it's exciting, and you meet people, and it's a very fulfilling way for me to spend my retirement years. And that's my sales pitch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. That was awesome.
Thank you.
And at the end, you can ask Mary Ann some questions as well about her experience or anything that you might want to ask her about what she spoke of. So we will open it up for questions at the end. So thank you, Mary Ann. That was wonderful. So disaster services, which is what we alluded to, and there are tons of opportunities within disaster services. Brian has been a Red Cross volunteer for 8 years, and he is the president of the Doves, an organization of RV enthusiasts who are interested in volunteering with the American Red Cross. He's here to tell us about the doves and to share his experience as a Red Cross volunteer. And once he does that, we'll talk a little bit more, if we need to, about some of the opportunities within disaster. But with that, Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you and make you a presenter. So just bear with me.
All right.
Where did you go? More. So I'm going to make you a host. And
All right.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And you should have the con.
All right. All I have to do is find the right screen.
I know, that's the challenge.
All right. Let's see. What screen are you looking at now?
I'm seeing everybody, all the faces.
Okay. All right. Now, do you see an introduction slide?
Yes, we do.
All right. Great. Well, it's great to be here tonight. I'm excited to speak to this group. But I am the president of the Doves, which I'm going to explain what that means. But here are any of the ways you can contact me. 3 email addresses, pick whichever you like. Any of those will work for me. But let me give you a little background on me. This is my sister and I enjoying a couple of rather large lollipops on one of our camping trips in the early 70s with my grandparents' Winnebago in the background. And, you know, many of my most cherished memories are from the trips we took all over the country in Winnie. I imagine some of you can relate to that. In 2013, I stepped away from my career in software engineering to focus on writing. But after a while, I realized I probably needed to spend some time away from the computer. And I remembered reading about the Doves in Escapees magazine. And I thought it would be a great way to be able to travel while spending time with others, giving back to the community. So I bought my first RV and joined the Doves and became a Red Cross volunteer. So for any of you not familiar with the Escapees, it started out in 1978 as a club for full-time RVers, but since then has become one of the largest general RV clubs in North America. And they publish a great magazine monthly. They have RV park discounts. They host RV boot camps. They have an annual rally called the Escapade. And they have various other gatherings. They now have virtual gatherings, online education, host a lot of chapters and special interest groups. And those special interest groups are called Birds of a Feather. And they have those for about any topic you can imagine. And I mention that because the Doves are one of those Birds of a Feather groups, part of Escapees. So who are the Doves? Well, we're a national nonprofit organization of RV enthusiasts who are interested in volunteering with the Red Cross. And we are an official partner organization of the American Red Cross. We just renewed our memorandum of understanding this past year. So we have certain, guidelines in place with how we operate with the Red Cross. The Doves got started when a bunch of full-time RVers showed up to help out in the aftermath of 9/11. And they all kind of bonded over that experience and caught the attention of a bunch of other Red Crossers who were there helping and said, hey, that's a great idea. You know, when I'm out traveling, wouldn't it be great to be able to respond in my RV and help out? So the organization formed and it grew from there. We had a lot of Doves helping out in Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and 2006. Why is it named Dove? Well, As Lynn said, it's disaster operations volunteer escapees. So we do focus on the disaster side of things for the Red Cross. That is not by any means a restriction. So we encourage everyone to participate in any of those lines of service with the Red Cross. The escapees part is to denote that we are one of those birds of a feather groups of escapees. We currently have about 180 members. It's remained fairly steady. We've lost members, but gained about an equivalent number of them. They're located all over the country. More than half of us are full-time RVers. I'm not a full-time RVer, but many are. We had 39 doves deployed to Red Cross operations this past year, deployed 110 times. So how the math works there is we had, of those 39 people, several of them deployed multiple times. So they were involved in different operations, or they were there for 2 weeks and took a break and came back, that sort of thing. So why do we have the doves? Well, we provide that ability to deploy in an RV when traveling near a disaster. We also have that support for volunteers without a real home base. It's great that volunteers can, work with their local chapters. That's where you get a lot of your support and resources. But for those RVers who are on the road a lot of times, we provide that extra support that they might not be able to get at home. We help identify deployment opportunities while traveling. Typically, your home chapter is only looking for disasters that are within the scope of the area. What I mean by that is when we have a disaster, we try first to staff that locally, and as the needs grow, we expand that kind of ring of involvement. So what we do is look for cases where, someone's away from their home chapter and they happen to be traveling near a disaster. So we help them, get deployed to do that. We also help with recruiting Red Cross volunteers from the RV community. And we encourage volunteering while traveling. So we encourage everyone, hey, while you're on the road, why not stop in at a Red Cross chapter and say, hey, you need any help here? How to become a dove? Pretty easy. You do need to be a member of the Escapees RV Club. I think membership is $39 or $40 a year. A lot of other benefits, as I mentioned. You need to join the doves through our website. That's dovebof.org. Our dues are a bank-breaking $10 a year. But I'll tell you that actually we've been waiving our annual dues for the past few years. So it's actually a $10 one-time fee at this point. I deployed in my RV to help with recovery from Hurricane Florence in North Carolina in 2018. This is me parking alongside the Red Cross emergency response vehicles, or ERVs as we call them. I spent 2 weeks there driving one of those ERVs, feeding people in the affected area. It was nice coming back to my own bed at night. It was a really short commute, which was very handy. So as Mary Ann said, deployment is typically a 14-day assignment. You can go longer if you want. The days are typically long, 12-hour days are common. Your expenses are reimbursed. And I think all Red Cross volunteers would agree that one of the key skills to take with you is flexibility when you deploy, because you may deploy for one thing and end up doing something else, but it's very helpful to be there to just do whatever's needed. I think we all feel that as long as we're being useful, we're feeling satisfied as a volunteer. So this is a list of some of the things, and Lynn may go over some of these as well, but these are some of the things that you can do in a disaster. It's a long list of activities you can get involved in. Under mass care, we have the sheltering, the feeding, distribution of emergency supplies. That's what that DES acronym is there. Logistics is helping out with managing transportation. So all the vehicles, warehousing, Technology would be helping set up and distribute computers, networks, things like that. Individual disaster care would be providing health services, mental health services, spiritual care. Recovery, that's Mary Ann was talking about recovery, helping people through that process once the immediate disaster is over, helping them get back on the road to normal. Staffing is helping manage all the volunteers working on an operation, making sure they have a place to stay, that they have work assignments. Information and planning, external relations, and finance are some of the other things there. Lots of things to do. So there's usually people don't have any trouble finding, something they'd be interested in doing in a disaster operation. There's also opportunities to deploy virtually. I deployed virtually in 2019 to do staffing for the Louisiana hurricane. So if you don't actually want to go there or aren't able to, there's a lot of things that you can do, like staffing and recovery, that are done as long as you've got a good internet and phone connection. And the long days, it's still, that was what's surprising about the virtual deployment, is it was still 12-hour days, even though I was at home. But then there are also lots of things you can do locally as well. So don't feel like deployment is the only thing to do in disaster cycle services. Disaster action teams, that is, helping on our smaller teams that we have ready to deal with all those local disasters. The most common one being house fires. We don't hear a lot about that, but we deal with those several hundred a year, typically, just in our area. So it's these teams go out and make sure that the family has what they need to get through the next few days, a place to stay, food, clothing, all those sorts of things. Even if we have a situation like a flood, a lot of times our disaster action teams are the ones that are kind of getting things started with that. They're the first to respond from the Red Cross. Recovery then is that next step in the process of helping people get back on that road to recovery. Logistics is helping manage our warehouse and our supplies. And then preparedness education is helping make sure that everyone in the community is prepared. We have a lot of different programs here. Some are oriented towards elementary school children, teaching them ways to be prepared and to help their family be prepared for emergencies. And then we have some other ones that are for any audience. There's lots of things you can do locally as well. So I think we'll save questions for the end. I did want to clarify one thing, and that is, I talk a lot about the doves because I know that's appropriate for this audience, but you don't have to mix your RVing with the Red Cross. And you may want to keep your travel and volunteering separate, and that's perfectly fine. But becoming a dove does give you that extra option of helping out when you happen to be traveling near a disaster. All right, I think I'll turn it back over to you, Lynn.
Fabulous. That was awesome, Brian. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I learned a lot.
All right, and like I said, I am happy to take questions whenever.
Fabulous. Let's see.
You should be host again.
Okay, just one moment. Okay, and can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. That was awesome. A great overview, even probably more thorough than what I was going to talk about, because it is different when you're out in the field. And I always say to people, there's over 500 different volunteer opportunities, and we could do a presentation that would take 10 hours to cover everything. So that's why it's really good to, like Brian said, this is the perfect audience to talk about the doves and the disaster services. And as he shared, it's perfectly okay to keep those two things separate, but definitely there's an opportunity. And when I was talking with Chuck, I was just exploring and learning about the doves. I had heard it called several different things. And so I was really excited when I got a hold of Brian, just we got connected 2 nights ago, or was it last night even, to make this happen. So I appreciate his flexibility and his willingness to jump in and share this with this group, because I think it's a great partnership. And I also shared it with our disaster program manager today. So yes, the only other thing I really kind of want to talk about is the community preparedness presenter. So right now we are really seeking, if response to a disaster isn't your thing, retired teachers, anyone who's ever wanted to be a teacher and hasn't been, we have a community preparedness presenter, 2 programs, one called Prepare with Pedro, which is for kindergarten through 2nd graders, and one that's called the Pillowcase Project, and that's for 3rd through 5th graders. So basically, you work with the preparedness program manager who coordinates those events, and you get trained, and then you go into the community. Sometimes it's hybrid, sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's virtual, because right now still some schools aren't letting people in, but you go and present to students in a non-scary, threatening way about how to learn to be prepared when emergencies happen and disasters happen. So if anyone's interested in that, please let me know. But thank you, Brian. Yes, we respond to house fires here daily, if not more than one in our region, and the Red Cross responds to over 70,000 disasters each year, including house and apartment fires, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, hazardous material spills, transportation accidents, explosions, other natural and man-made disasters. So it's a great group of people, a very dedicated group of people, and you get some great training. So if you are interested in deploying and when it's hurricane season, now's the perfect time to come on board and get trained and take all those fabulous training courses that we have. Another area that Chuck wanted me to focus on was service to the armed forces. So through the offices worldwide here, the American Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies provides a continuum of care throughout a service member's career and after their military service ends. The American Red Cross provides training opportunities and services to military members, veterans, and their families to build resiliency. We also include preparedness, health, safety courses, outreach within preparedness information, and coping skills. One of the big things we do in our area is that resiliency training. Sometimes military families experience immediate need, and we can provide emergency communications or family follow-up, access to financial assistance, and disaster services should they need it. The American Red Cross serves the military community and military medical facilities around the world, including military and VA hospitals, VA outpatient clinics, military community healthcare clinics, veteran centers, veteran community living centers, and veteran state homes. So if there's, you have an interest or someone has an interest, we have volunteer opportunities that include supporting clients during emergencies, working at those military and VA facilities, educating and providing education and information to build military members. We have military family days. We just participated in the Veterans Parade, so a lot of volunteers walked in the Philadelphia Parade. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities with services to the armed forces. Sometimes we have opportunities for a liaison. So you're a liaison between the veteran medical facility to the Red Cross. I know we have an opening for that opportunity in Coatesville right now, which is in Chester County, PA. So if you're interested in that, I would be happy to chat with you more. So we have, and as I shared, we have tons of volunteer opportunities. If there's something that, we haven't talked about this evening, we have more volunteer opportunities in our fundraising, communications, volunteer management, which is what I do, which I'm part of the, leading a recruitment team and a community outreach team. So Brian, I believe he shared that he's also doing recruitment in his region, and Marianne is on our community outreach team, which falls under the volunteer management. And that's like going to tabling events and sharing with folks, as Marianne said, you know, about the Red Cross, the mission, and the opportunities that we have. And then sometimes there's opportunities right now, since the offices have pretty much been closed. We haven't had the in-office administration. Sometimes we have, you know, volunteer opportunities where you can come in and, you know, be office support, do database entry, things like that. But there haven't been as many of those opportunities, as we haven't really been back in the office while our offices and while we're open. We are not officially in the offices yet every single day like we used to be before COVID. You know, just to share with you about fundraising, on average, 91 cents of every dollar goes to supporting the American Red Cross mission. And I just like to share that because it's one of the highest numbers that you will see on GuideStar with regard to our fundraising and our monies going back directly into our mission. Let's see. I'm going to try and share this video. Let's see if I can do this again because I forgot to do that. Share my sound. Okay, it is. So I'm going to share this. Please let me know if you cannot hear it. So now that I've talked, you know, about how you can volunteer at the Red Cross and how it can help you, I just wanted to share this video and let you take a look at how the Red Cross has helped other people and what they've said about it. So it's about a 2-minute video. So here it goes. So that's just like a real quick video, but it kind of lets you see the impact that we and the volunteers have on the many lives that are affected by natural disasters. And again, I like to say and repeat, you know, 90% of our workforce are volunteers. And we have over, like Marianne shared, over 500,000 strong across the country and millions across the world. So we are so blessed to have folks who come to our mission. Our mission resonates with them, excuse me, to help others. So I just wanted to share that, you know, you can scan that little QR code, which seems to be the thing these days, to find the right volunteer opportunity for you. You can scan that and it's going to take you to a landing page to say get started, and you can fill out a volunteer profile there. Or you can go to our website, which is redcross.org, and you'll be able to fill out an application there. 5 steps to take to become a volunteer today is to submit your online application, You would activate your account, read and agree to our policies, initiate a background check, which we pay for, and then register for orientation. And you would be getting emails once you submit your online application. Our intake team would contact you, and once everything was done, they would refer you to the department, who would reach out and schedule an interview and chat with you, make sure you meet all the qualifications for the opportunity, and then they would start you on onboarding, your path for training. So yeah, so it's pretty easy. The application probably takes less than 10 minutes. And I just now wanted to open it up to questions. So I cannot see anything. All I see is my screens. So if there are questions, please come off mute and ask Marianne, Brian, or myself. We're happy to answer anything that you have. No questions? Did everybody fall asleep?
No, I'm here.
Just teasing.
Thank you for that presentation. I think people are probably trying to figure out how to get off of mute.
Marianne, if you could stop sharing your screen, then we could all go back to seeing people again.
Okay, I will do that. I just want to thank the Pennsylvania State Club, the Winnebago Group, for hosting us this evening. I want to thank Chuck. I want to thank Marianne. I want to thank Brian. Everything they do supports our mission, even just hosting us. And if you know of any other locations where we could share our information, we are happy to do that. Here is a screen if you want to take a picture. I will send this presentation to Chuck so he can email it to the members if he would like to. So it will have everybody's information on it, but he's also got the recording. So I will stop sharing right now and we go to questions. Thank you.
So Lynn, first question for me is, can I share this recording with people from the group who didn't get here tonight, or offer the people who came tonight to share with their church groups or whatever, if they're interested in doing that?
Absolutely, we would appreciate that.
Okay.
But I'm also happy to we could do another presentation as well. We're always happy to do that. Sometimes churches have volunteer fairs. So if you ever know of any churches that have a volunteer fair or would have a tabling opportunity for us, we would be happy to host a table there as well.
And I do plan to follow up with you and maybe you as well, Brian, about we talked briefly about the table at the state rally coming up in June.
That would be awesome.
It'd be great.
Questions from anyone else?
Yeah, I had a question about for Brian. Great presentation there, Brian. I think we're both very interested in the Dove program. So I'm assuming if you fill out the volunteer application that you can say that you're interested in the Dove program. I didn't look at the whole application, so.
Right, yeah, no, that's a great question. You won't find anything on that application that talks about the doves. So it's kind of a separate process. You can go ahead and do that Red Cross part and do that, but you can also then, to do the doves part, either go to our website, dovebof.org, or send me an email and I'll send you, the information. We can do it that way. And the same way, we're happy to help you with that Red Cross application process too. So if you feel like you're getting stuck in any of that, let me know and I can help you. But I know Lynn talked about that. It's 5 steps, but it sounded like a lot. It's not. It's real easy. Doesn't take much time at all. So don't let that stop you.
So do I understand you need to go through the Red Cross training before you would do the Dove program?
No. In fact, you might have noticed that when I said about how the steps to become a Dove, none of those indicated you needed to be a Red Cross volunteer. So that's our expectation, is that you will become one at some point. But we're happy to help you. And we have plenty of people who sign up to be a Dove, and then we help them with the Red Cross application process and getting up to speed with that. So no, you don't need to, you don't even need to be a volunteer to join the Doves and to have us help you, kind of get on board with that.
And the training is primarily virtual, so it's not, you do it at your own pace.
Yep.
And I just have to say, I loved your presentation too, Brian, because when I was younger, my parents and my grandparents had a Winnebago, and we used to travel around all the time. And now that I'm an adult, I haven't done anything like that in a very long time. And I always watch that show Going RV on TV. And I keep telling my husband, when we retire, we're getting an RV. We're going on the road. He hasn't bought into it yet, but that's totally my goal, my end game. So I'm hoping, but I just love everything about RVing. So, and
Yep. Well, I'm sure you can get lots of encouragement from this group, myself included. And I'm actually looking forward to joining this group here. I'm in less than 2 weeks going to be finally getting my new Travato. I'm downsizing from a Class C. I ordered it in June, and it'll finally be arriving here in another week and a half. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
nice.
Mhm.
So Brian, you have my contact information if you want to join a WIT group.
Yes. You'll be hearing from me.
Okay. Marianne, I had a question. If you could just go a little bit further into, I didn't catch the exact words of what you were talking about, but where you work with people, you said something about only needing a phone and maybe an internet connection to work with people after they've had a problem, a house fire or whatever, to help them come back up to speed.
Yeah.
Could you, I mean, not go into it in huge detail, but give me a
No.
little bit more information about that.
No problem. So after, let's just say, a house fire, because that's the overwhelming majority of individual disaster cases that we deal with. After a house fire, of course, the fire department's involved. They get in touch with the Red Cross. The Red Cross is right there. There are intake workers who get in the information from the people who were affected. Who is the head of household? How many children are in the home? Who needs medical care, spiritual care? They get all of this information exactly following the event, and it goes into a computer system called a Salesforce system. The caseworker then, approximately a day or two later, who is assigned to that client, we call them clients, gets in touch with the head of household, the person who was identified as the primary person to reach out to. And we've already read their information. So before we even connect with them, we kind of know the situation. Boy, there were 7 children, one's disabled, whatever the situation is, because we're all sharing the same platform, the same Salesforce platform. So you read all about them, you kind of have a sense of what they're about, and then you call them. That's why you need a computer and a phone. And sometimes it takes a few back and forth till you connect. But once you connect, of course, you explain who you are and what you're there to do. You listen, what are your priority needs to get back on your feet? And depending on what those needs are, we get the resources in each county, depending on what the need is. So if someone, let's say the wheelchair was destroyed in the fire, we know what community resource to connect those people to get a replacement wheelchair. If it's, local food banks, places that deliver food, all of the things depending on their needs to get them through. And then we work with them because they have to take responsibility to build the plan as well. We cannot solve all their problems, but we're there to help them develop the plan so that they can have a game plan on what where they're going to go from here. And that's the casework work. You're never physically with them. You're never on location, at least not now during COVID. We're doing it all by phone and doing our research on the computer for resources that could help them.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's a great question.
Brian, I have a question. When there's an event takes place, is it that you send out, say, a mass emailing to all the group members in order to get a response team where you're needing RVs to travel to a certain location?
Yeah, so usually it's more of a kind of an individual thing where what we send out is a list of all of the opportunities. So when there's a disaster going on, we send out a report to all of the doves that says, here are the things they're looking for, you know, shelter workers, logistics workers, whatever it is. And the process we usually like you to take is to work through your local chapter, even if you're not currently located there, but you should have some sort of relationship with them. Work with them to get assigned to the operation. We do have contacts at national headquarters of the Red Cross to help make that happen if, you know, the chapter's having trouble doing that. But normally we let it up to each member, and we, you know, if we know someone was looking to deploy, we know what they're trained in, that sort of thing. We can help look for those opportunities for them. But we haven't had that many opportunities like since Katrina, where we've had a big group of us deploy. You know, it's usually a smaller group, but we do try to communicate between people. So, you know, when we have 4 or 5 people, doves deploying to an operation, we do have a Facebook group that we use. We have email that we can use to help hey, we found a place to stay, a good campground where we can be located. We get support from the Red Cross on all that stuff as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. Again, special thanks to Brian and Marianne and Chuck this evening for hosting us and participating and sharing their stories and their experiences with the Red Cross. If you're interested, please reach out to us. We are here and we will help you get onboarded if you have an interest and an area that you would like to participate and help us achieve that mission of alleviating human suffering in the face of emergencies. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Happy holidays to you all. Take care and reach out if you need anything. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very much.